Simplify the square root of 20. When we first learned about fractions, we knew that we always wanted to simplify our final answers when they were fractions. And what we effectively wanted to do was make the numerators and denominators as small as possible because it's easier for our brains to process smaller numbers. Now, we're going to want to do the same thing with radicals. We're going to want the radicand, the number inside the square root sign, to be as small as possible. But because square roots are different than fractions, the procedure is going to be different. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take the number inside the radical, we call that the radicand, and we're going to want to factor it so that the first factor is a perfect square. Now, there are different ways of factoring 20. 20 can be written as 2 times 10, but neither of those are perfect squares. It can also be written as 4 times 5, and in that case, 4 is a perfect square. So we're going to break it down like that. And we have a rule called the product rule for square roots, or the product rule for radicals, that says if we have the square root of a product, we can write that as the product of the respective square roots. So the square root of 4 times 5 is the same as the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Now, this is helpful because now we have the square root of a perfect square in the front, and we can actually evaluate that square root. We can take the square root. The square root of 4 is just 2, so we can replace root 4 with 2. Now, 5 isn't a perfect square, so we have to leave that inside the square root symbol. But now we've rewritten the expression as 2 root 5, and the radical 5 is much smaller than the original radical of 20. We can't simplify anymore because the only perfect square factor of 5 is 1, and if we split that up into 1 and 5, we'd still have 5 inside the square root. So that doesn't really help, and so this is as much as we can do, and we end up with 2 times the square root of 5.